spending time in nature has been proven to have both physical and psychological benefits for us. Nowhere is it more important that we find some green space than in our expanding cities. Not just for us, but also for the biodiversity that relies on it. On today's show, let's see how this is being made possible. Hello and welcome to Eco India. I'm Sanuta Raghu. Green spaces in my home city of Mumbai are steadily disappearing due to rapid urbanization. There are residents, however, who are taking change into their own hands, carving out urban greenery wherever they can.
There are some surprisingly green and leafy corners of Mumbai. The Matunga neighborhood is home to a 600-meter-long garden beneath a busy flyover. These days, locals flock to the public park. It's partly the work of retired mechanical engineer Nikhil Desai, who lives nearby. He was fed up with having an eyesore on his doorstep.
1 year or 2 years after the flyover was built, it started being misused. And the taxis and other things started parking below it. People will park and forget their cars there only, and then some group of people will start living there only and started cooking and washing and everything there, and then remaining long portions, people will stand anywhere, and it became an open urinal type thing, always stinking all the time, day in, day out. So it was very bad situation.
Now 70, Nikhil Desai, together with other residents, decided to raise funds for a garden underneath the flyover. The city authorities were so delighted by the idea that they decided to award the project public financing. Today, the park boasts flower beds, winding pathways, and pleasant spots to while away the time.
It's actually nice. I usually come over here and spend some time and enjoy with my friends.
It's actually quite better than before as this garden is there because it shows this place as more greenery.
Another green haven, Prasad Vishwakarma's urban garden. He hails from the state of Uttar Pradesh. For 20 years, he has been growing produce here, close to Bhandup railway station. The garden is part of government land and part of a state-sponsored initiative organized by Central Railway called Grow More Food.
Every 5 years, the land is transferred to a different railway official. The new officer, in whose name it is transferred, comes here and takes over its management.
Prasad Vishwakarma tends the garden on their behalf. The railway company hopes the gardens will prevent trash and litter from being dumped around platforms and stop people from settling in illegal shacks along the tracks. With his work, Prasad earns enough to support his family. They live nearby. One of his sons has just graduated from college. 2 people from his village help him out with the garden. Traders come by regularly to buy his fresh vegetables.
First of all, it is really helpful and beneficial for the environment, and people get to enjoy the vegetables we grow here. So what I do here gives me a lot of satisfaction.
On the western edge of Mumbai, there is a community garden called Dream Grove. The members of the initiative like eating their harvest when it's freshest. Volunteers meet twice a week to work in the garden. Anybody can join in as often as they want. The fruits and vegetables are free. Dipti Jangiani joined when the group was launched in 2018.
Most important things that we do is soil building out of waste material. We're growing a whole lot of vegetables, fruits and flowers to attract bees. We harvest all the amazing fruits and vegetables that we grow And of course, most important of all, we build the community of a whole variety of beautiful human beings, and we have a really lovely time together.
Neighborhood volunteers finance the seeds and everything else needed for their food forest. More than 100 people have already got involved. Some have brought the idea of community gardening to other areas of the city.
We need more green spaces. We need to save our soil. We need spaces where people can come in and forest bathe right in the middle of urban jungles like Mumbai. And that is why it is crucial for us as well as other people to adopt activities, initiatives like this, where we can 1 square foot at a time green every single part of our city that's available.
Back in the heart of Mumbai, the garden in Matunga has become a trailblazer. The city's traffic authority has recognized the value of such green oases.
Wherever we can find the space, we are creating gardens where Mumbai citizens can walk, meet and relax as part of the city's new concept of urban green spaces.
4 kilometers from Nananal Mitha Garden, the next garden oasis is coming to life. It's set to open in a few weeks. Mumbai will then have 16 green flyovers. In the past 3 decades, the city has lost 40% of its greenery. The green spaces under the flyovers can't make up for these losses, but the city has at least now recognized just how vital they are.
Public parks and forests make up much of Berlin's green space. But it's the allotment gardens, complete with a small summer house, that have given the city its unique green charm for more than 100 years. Yet, they're under threat. So how important are they really? Let's take a look.
Spring has arrived. The Schultz family is preparing their garden for the summer. It brings them joy. And it also has other benefits.
I think these plots are very important for nature and the climate. Everyone can contribute, and they offer people the chance to plant greenery.
The Schultz family has been leasing this garden for 3 years now. Every year they plant new vegetables, but it's not just about hard work.
It's such an oasis, an island where you can just spend time and relax in nature. It's really great.
This oasis is part of the allotment Kolonie am Stadtpark 1 in western Berlin. Not long ago, plans to extend a school threatened 19 of the 120 plots. Marianne Ronsheimer has had a garden here for almost 30 years. Her children, and now grandchildren, have grown up using the green space.
These gardens are a bonus to city life. They're a local recreation area, and they give Berliners light, fresh air, opportunities for exercise, the chance to experience nature, and to socialize.
Ronsheimer, Schultz and other plot holders successfully campaigned against the school expansion plan. Berlin has over 70,000 allotment gardens, more than any other European city. Together they make up almost 3,000 hectares. Some are on city land. Others flank tracks on property not used by its owner, rail provider Deutsche Bahn. Gert Schopper is head of a Berlin allotment association. He represents holders across the city. Allotment gardens are extremely sought after, and yet plots are increasingly at risk.
The city needs tracks for new subways, for new trams. It may also need additional tracks for the suburban rail network. It needs facilities for schools and kindergartens. Berlin needs more housing. And all of these requirements are putting a squeeze on available space. We've been feeling pressure for many years and believe it will only mount in the coming years.
Allotment gardens first appeared in Berlin in the late 1800s as the population exploded. People from rural areas flocked into the city and needed to grow vegetables for their own food. The gardens were a lifeline for Berliners during both world wars. During the Cold War, gardens sprang up along the Berlin Wall in the east, where hobby gardeners contributed to food supplies. Today, allotments are more for relaxation and connecting with nature. There are regulations on the size of them and how they're used. They're also important for the environment in the city and beyond. Scientist Fritz Reuswig specialises in urban greenery. He frequently visits Berlin to keep tabs on the city's ecological balance.
Urban greenery is providing a lot of social and ecological services to cities and citizens. For example, they cool cities, they provide water because they are not sealed, they provide biodiversity services, they are home to many insects, for example, and other animals, and they will become more important in the future due to climate change.
Temperatures are rising in Berlin while the amount of annual rainfall has dropped. Allotments provide urban greenery and can help address climate change challenges. But just because a garden is green doesn't mean it's a cure-all.
If you have allotment gardening where you have only lawn and there are not many plants and you use a lot of pesticides, for example, then the value of this green is very, very low. So what you need is more wilder gardens, more diversity.
Gardening in Berlin has developed beyond traditional allotments. In the centre of the city, on the land of the disused Tempelhof airfield, is the community garden Allmender Kontor. Founded in 2011, the project promotes sustainable organic gardening. These children are here to water the potatoes. There are more than 250 raised beds with more than 500 gardeners. Volunteers are self-organised and meet regularly to tend to different parts of the garden. Like this area, dedicated to the community's bees. Juan Coca has been part of the collective for around 5 years. He leads a group dedicated to taking care of the bee colony at Allmender Kontor.
For me and for a lot of people who are part of the group, they realize how important it is to know how difficult it is to work with earth and to be aware the connection of nature and human. And for me, well, that for me is quite of the pillar of the project here, to be aware how we are connected to the nature.
Back at Colony am Stadtpark 1, the Schulzes have finished their work for the day. It's time to enjoy some lunch. It's not clear their oasis will forever survive the pressures of urban development. But for now, it's a bonus for the family and the environment.
As we just saw, urban greenery is not just about providing space for relaxation. It can mean much more. For example, it can be used for growing food. In the southern city of Thiruvananthapuram, this idea is helping solve a multitude of problems.
It's planting season. Vijay Kumar Das is placing green chili seedlings in the soil. The plastic wrap locks in moisture. He's worked as a farm helper for 6 years. He comes from the predominantly rural state of Assam in northern India. But it's here, in the southern city of Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, that he learned how to farm.
Earlier, I knew nothing about farming. I just used to help my dad. But after coming here, I have learned a lot about it. And I know all about helpful technology as well. Now, wherever I go, I don't have to feel nervous. No one needs to tell me what to do, and I know it all myself.
Vijay Das works for Groon Agro Ventures, a small company on the outskirts of Thiruvananthapuram. It provides farming and technical expertise to help people set up farms on unused urban land. Launched in 2016, the company combines modern techniques with traditional farming practices. It grows vegetables adapted to the soil and uses only natural pesticides. Founder Ijaz Salim combines his engineering background with a passion for farming to get more people in urban areas to grow their own food.
During the pandemic, the exposure to local produce was far greater than before, simply because of the fact that your resources were limited. So that has changed the palette tremendously, and that single aspect is what I believe will be the future driver of this business.
Kerala has long sourced agricultural produce from neighboring Tamil Nadu state, but a 2015 study exposed high levels of chemicals in imported vegetables. The state began promoting local food cultivation. Government data shows that just 2 years later, each of Kerala's 14 districts boasted some 20,000 rooftop farmers. Urban agriculture is built as a sustainable solution to help feed people in India's fast-growing cities. But outside of Kerala, scaling up could be a challenge, especially in major cities like Delhi, Bengaluru, and Chennai, where groundwater levels are dangerously low. Experts are banking on new technology.
Unlike the earlier conventional method of irrigating plants using a pot or maybe a hose, now we have micro irrigation methods, like micro sprinklers are there, then drip irrigation is there. The government is supporting those programs also. And there are a number of private companies also bringing out good models that can be fitted into this. So that water shortage problem can be solved to a great extent.
Urban farms also serve as a green buffer against carbon emissions and helps filter air pollution. But a lot of people living in cities can't afford to grow their own food. These are the grounds of a non-profit organization in Thiruvananthapuram that supports young people with autism from low-income families. Groon Agro Ventures helped convert 1 acre of the arid land into a vegetable farm. Program participants learn valuable skills and can take their harvests home. Experience has shown that farming has therapeutic benefits.
They are actually acquiring skill set like, team building skill set, and the way they are, working together while they harvest. So understanding the concept and acquiring certain skill set and communication and other areas, farming is really helpful.
Ijaz Salim's services are booked mostly by middle and upper middle class families in Kerala. But he now wants to encourage city workers to cultivate vegetables during and outside of office hours. His company's Work from Farm initiative seeks to create a co-working space that provides a calm rural work environment while providing members the opportunity to engage in farming activities.
We would like to have people come over here as a regular way of life, understand as to how farming is, and create that farm connect and bond so that they are able to nurture in their minds, a dream of a future farm.
With more people turning to organic urban farming, Groon Agro Ventures has tapped into a growing market in Kerala. And it's also nurturing the dream of farm worker Vijay Das, who one day hopes to set up his own farm back in his home state of Assam.
Big cities need big ideas, especially to fight against climate change. The International Horticulture Exhibition Floriade in the Netherlands is exhibiting concepts from all over the world on how to bring nature back into cities.
A beach house made of over 7,000 kilos of plastic. And an ecosystem created in a desert landscape. These are some ideas for a greener future on display at the Floriade, a world expo for horticulture in the Netherlands.
In the future, more and more people are going to live in cities. So our idea is to show people how can we shape the cities of the future. How can we make them greener? How can we make them more sustainable? And what can each and every one of us do exactly to make this happen?
Over 40 countries are taking part in the Floriade. At the German pavilion, Biotopia, visitors learn about environmental impact and change by interacting with the exhibits as well as with each other. Growing green cities is the overall theme at this year's Floriada.
The key message is we are a growing community, so we have to work together in unison to create a more green and sustainable future. It's really each and everybody's contribution, and only as a whole we can make this, the future and the cities more green.
Another highlight is this house. It demonstrates alternative building practices by using mostly natural materials in the construction. Over 100 natural materials were used in the construction, including cork, recycled wood, burlap, bio-waste, seaweed, and fungi.
So this is a room completely made out of bacteria and fungi. It's actually made out of mycelium, and mycelium are the roots of the mushroom, which form a strong network which you can use to insulate your house with.
The Floriada takes place every 10 years. This is the 7th edition, located in Almere, about 30 kilometers from Amsterdam. It'll remain open until October.
It's not only cities where solutions are needed to bring back green space. India has suffered a loss of natural forest area, largely due to agricultural expansion. An activist in the north of the country is trying to reverse some of the damage, one tree at a time.
Ishwar Singh Chauhan shows how it's done. For about 15 years, the teacher has been planting trees here on the Malwa Plateau in central India. It lies at an altitude of around 500 meters. He initially started out alone, planting the small seedlings, but now he has the support of numerous volunteers from the local area. In addition to fruit trees such as guava, mango and bananas, they also plant peepal, teak and neem trees. A biodiversity created by Ishwar and his team, which previously didn't exist on this rocky terrain. To water the young trees, they have to walk several hundred meters back and forth with containers.
There are 5,000 to 7,000 trees here. They are like my children. If a plant dries up, it hurts my heart. But if we water it today and tomorrow, it comes back green again. That gives me immense pleasure.
Elsewhere, forest is being cleared to make way for farmland, mining operations or growing cities. The rate of deforestation is unclear as India counts areas even with limited tree cover as forests.
Situation gets a bit complex because how India defines the forest cover. We actually, the Forest Survey of India defines any area with 1 hectare of land with 10% cover as forest, although some of the interventions that are monitored as forest cover are actually tree cover.
Since the most recent ice age, the Earth has lost 1/3 of its forest area. From 2015 to 2020 alone, around 10 million hectares of forest disappeared each year. As a result, the Earth is getting warmer, with drought, wildfires and landslides on the rise. Around the world, more and more reforestation projects are underway. These include both large-scale campaigns and smaller initiatives, like with Ishwar and his team.
Efforts to restore our forests are still far too small in scope. They are big ideas. What the politicians are promising is enormous. There are UN-backed programs where hundreds of millions of hectares are to be replanted with forest. There are many local initiatives too. But what's being done right now is not enough overall to compensate for the rate of deforestation.
India is one of the world's major biodiversity hotspots, so experts say reforestation efforts need to be planned, with care taken as to what trees are planted where, so as not to upset the balance of nature.
The open natural ecosystems, the grasslands need to be protected for, the biodiversity benefits and people dependent on the pastoralists, etc., who are dependent on that. So every place doesn't need to have trees. Sometimes the open natural ecosystems by itself are very important. So reforestation, it's about restoration and identifying what interventions where, basically.
But Ishwar feels he's on the right path. With his work as a teacher, he finances the seedlings that he and his team plant regularly. Nothing would please him more than to see later generations follow his example, preserving trees on the Malwa Plateau.
Bringing back nature in cities and beyond, it might seem like a mammoth task. But with every small solution, a step is taken in the right direction towards a green future. I'll leave you with that thought and see you again next week. Goodbye and thanks for watching.